Welcome to this Spirit Gathering teleconference. Today is November 21st, 2017, and my name is Diane Wyan. Our topic is gratitude, reflections, and intentions. We are so glad you've joined us. Let's take a moment now to get settled, to center ourselves, let go of the events of this day, and to begin to enter the deeper sacred space within ourselves. Now, let us imagine that we are joining together sacred heart to sacred heart with every other person on this call right now. Now, let us imagine that we are joining together in a circle with a light or flame or fire in the center. Imagine a spoke of light coming from the center of the circle to your heart, and for each person on the call tonight or after, for those that will listen in. Now we are connected, sacred heart to sacred heart. Now let us set our intentions. We listen to one another with compassion and curiosity. We ask for what we need and offer what we can. We deepen our connection with one another and the divine. May this sharing serve us, our communities, and the planet. And so it is. November is the time of thanksgiving and gratitude for what we have, what we offer, and for what we intend. I wanted to give space this evening for each of us to share and to be witnessed for what divine grace has gifted each of us with, how we have presented and offered our gifts to others through telling of a story about that, and also that which we wish to intend, perhaps for our continued growth, for service, for expansion, for healing. I was inspired to share this topic because for the last 2 years I've been intensely doing career coaching through an organization that is set up to do that, and I've met some pretty amazing people. And because it's career coaching, the resume and LinkedIn would be a significant piece of focus, and so working with various people, what has happened is that on the summary, the very beginning of the resume, that's where one gets to share what one has accomplished, and it's not only in terms of skills and some results, but it's also personal traits, that which that person brings through rather naturally. And a lot of people aren't aware. Like at some level, I think they know that, but at another level, they don't really know how to articulate that or claim that, or they feel like they're bragging. And so I've really enjoyed the process of helping people to really articulate and get in touch with that essence, that gift, that natural, I call it their personal operating system, that which they very naturally just do, how they see things, how they solve things, how they contribute, etc. And I find it really rewarding and really enjoy seeing like a light come over their face when they tune into that part of themselves, which I think is, the gifts and the divinity and so on, and that connection to grokking it, yeah, that's really it, and that phrasing or that articulation of some piece of themselves is accurately expressed. And so I thought for, this time of gratitude in this Thanksgiving time is that it would be interesting and fun to reflect for and to be witnessed by the gathering this evening, for each of us to express, that which, the divine has given us, how so far we have, offered and presented that, and perhaps also what's intended for greater expansion or healing so that more of the gift can be perhaps given or presented in some way. And just as when I work with these people on their resumes and stuff, and they're like, oh, I have no idea, and I hate resumes, and the blah blah. And so, what I say is, well, let's then begin with, tell me a story about something that you're really proud of, because the proud of stories will have all of those essential gifts or skills or essence pieces in them. And the reason is because, as I say to them, you're you. And so that which you're proud of is, an expression of, it's not just a skill, but behind the skill is something that's coming through you that enables all of that to unfold and to happen. And so in the storytelling, there's a lot that gets shared and connected to, and it's a very rich experience, and it's a lovely way to be intimate with people rather quickly and with focus. And so I just thought, well, maybe that would be a fun thing to do, and also as a way for all of us to know one another better and to see one another, perhaps through a story. So if there's something that you might like to share about something that in a story that you're really proud of, and then, what is it that is a gift that you're bringing forth through that story, articulating those pieces, and then also what you'd like to intend for the future. Is that clear as to the offering? Oops. Are you muted or not clear?
Hi, this is Laura. Yeah, I think it's clear. I'm going to personally interpret the story a little bit in a kind of a free-form way with what's coming to mind. But, that seems, I think I understand what you mean.
Right. So did you want to share some free-form thing?
Sure. So, I think we were kind of chatting before the call, for me as well, this whole period of time seems like almost the ending of one life cycle and the kind of calling to really evaluate what I want to create in the next phase. And I have a couple of day jobs at the moment. I half the time work as a massage therapist and a kind of a healer and hands-on energy work realm, and the other half I teach as a college instructor, which I've been doing for many years now. And that feels old to me at this point. It feels in various ways like that's becoming stale and limiting. And so what I'll share to kind of interpret the story in the loose way, as you were giving the instructions, Diana, was kind of, constellating, my reactions in my mind. And what comes forward, I would say, in the sense of what I'm proud of, I'd say what I'm really drawn to, or what excites me about my experience, is the kind of notice that I'm very empathic, so you could call that a tendency or a talent if you like, but I become more and more aware that I'm really empathic, and so as the role of teacher has some of that, but there's some aspects of the role that are more kind of prosaic than that. But in a sense, I'm proud of my ability as an empath because like a duck likes diving into water, it's something that is natural to me, and so there's a pleasure in kind of exercising that. So that's one thing. And the other thing that comes to mind, there's kind of two related things, is a love of nature and a kind of an ability to, in the same empathic way, kind of tune into, if you like, speak to nature, speak to trees, animals, and so on, and to kind of tune into the living force of trees. And the Rutgers campus, as some of us know on the call here, has a lot of old trees, beautiful. It's like a colonial, historic site and everything. And so I always kind of tune into the trees and the land and the river when I'm walking, from the train station and so on. And so in a sense, I'm proud of that because again, it's something that I feel, is lights me up. It's natural to me. And along with that, I'd say the sense of place, I guess I would say, that I'm kind of I'm always interested when I meet people kind of where they come from and kind of getting a sense of that area or the land there or the history behind the land and that kind of thing. And a sense of kind of the history that's embedded in the place, the context, and so on. So those are the things that are lighting up for me in my day-to-day life at the moment. And they're the things that I would like to make forefront in my life as I choose how to go forward in the next chapter. So that's not exactly a story, but I hope it kind of answers your call. So that's my sharing.
Well, it does for me very much. Thank you for sharing that. I could share. What I'm really grateful for is in this work of coaching people and in particular helping to elicit from them what it is that they really offer at a essence level is touching in at that place and creating a container for that to unfold and happen. And the gift of that arising and being witnessed by both of us the client and myself is quite something, and I'm appreciating the growth, my growth that has happened because of this work, and the growth in particular of the allowing and not feeling like it's not working very hard because it's connected to the flow, and all of that just combines to create this opportunity for the unfolding that is really like grace just being present there and touching with the divine spark with its own divine spark. It's just this quiet and remarkable moment with people over and over again. And I just feel really grateful for that. And for my being able to more clearly see my gift of being able to use many years of energy skills combined with practice and helping people to see and touch into awareness and consciousness expansion. I just think it's a real gift to be a part of and to witness and to grow in that and become even more skillful at that unearthing. And what I would like more of is even somehow some greater connection for those parts of myself that have become so much more connected. Disconnected parts have become really connected, and I'm feeling a whole lot more whole, and just greater awareness for encouraging increased wholeness and completeness. And I'm complete.
This is Nancy, and before the call this evening, I felt this intuitive nudge to just let whatever happened, and whatever came to me to say. So in keeping with that, when you mentioned story, what came to me was a memory of a Jungian analyst that I worked with about 30 years ago who said, Nancy, most people start at the bottom of the mountain and climb up. You started at the top of the mountain, and your task is to climb down. And that didn't resonate so much at the time, but through the years, I feel like I've understood the truth of that short story. And And I can say that the three types of, I'll say, work that I am actively engaged in and enjoy, like in -joy, are working as a healer and a counselor to clients, and then working as a poet, and also a painter and sometimes photographer. And what I'm grateful for in the gift that Jungian friend spoke about was an innate spirituality that's been with me since early childhood, that people would come to me for help in certain ways, sort of my whole life. But as an adult, and through the years with various trainings and opportunities, I feel that core spiritual essence is shared and activated and flows in my sessions with folks, and also in my poetry, and in a book I wrote about some spiritual visions that had come for a couple of years each morning, and I was invited by Spirit to write down every one and put it in a book that it would help other people. And it was challenging, but I was faithful to that task. And in about a week, I'm going to have a one-woman art show of paintings. I haven't done a one-woman show in 30 years, so it felt kind of daunting to do it, but the opportunity came, and in my shy moments about the art show, a friend and colleague who's a healer said, "Do it for God. Just, think of the spirit and the sharing and the generosity." And so that's been really helpful for me. I find one of the learnings now that's been really recent is discerning the right situations and places to place my energy and the few things I've learned along the way. And I was in a situation recently in the Franciscan parish that I belong to where I was asked to be on the parish council, and I had been asked last year, but I took my name out of the nomination because it just wasn't the right time. But this year I thought maybe I would say yes. And I did try it for about 3 months, but it became really clear to me that it was a weight on my spirit. It wasn't the right fit. And when I shared that with the priest, he understood immediately, and I felt very affirmed in making a choice to make a change in where I was placing some of my energy and, trying to be helpful and so on, and offering what gifts I had to bring. And since then, I've found that it's just, that moment was a real growth moment for me, and supportive of listening, deeply to when and where and how to offer who I am. And I think it's just, I don't know, it's a great learning. And I feel grateful for all the levels of learning that's happening now. In some ways, not so much to me personally, but within my family, the recognition that one of our 5 children with special needs has been such a great teacher in learning to love, and how I was prepared, being in special ed a million years ago, prepared in many ways to receive this child who's now 34. And now, with 8 grandchildren, one of them is just being diagnosed with some really challenging life lessons at age 11 months. And again, I feel called to bring my experience and my spiritual understanding of the depth of this individual's destiny to teach love, how important that is at a deep level. So, in short, I guess I'd say I'm just in the mix of lessons and discernments and joy, not knowing the path ahead, but trusting more and more and more that it unfolds and flows in the right way in the moment. So that's what I can share.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome so much.
Mm-hmm.
Hi, this is Nancy Rubin. So I've been thinking that I was trying to think of something that you mentioned, something that I'm proud of, that we're proud of. And I realized that there were 2 things, but that particularly along this vein, that I remember 14 years ago when I was offered the job as medical director of this college health service that I had worked in for years before that, 14 years before that. And I remember going to a retreat at Amy Skeezes' farm. It was for the mentor program, and that my big issue there was having never wanted to really be a director and, get into that position of leadership, that I was very, very hesitant to do it. And the truth of the matter is that I was hesitant because I didn't want to be in the position of being judged all the time and of having to do things that would be painful to people, like maybe not just tell them what to do, but perhaps fire them or things like that. And I don't know what exactly it was within me that was so terrified of that. I could talk for a while about what those things were, but predominantly, wanting to stay out of the fray and just continue on my own path. But somehow at the end of this skills training weekend, I went in with that issue and came out deciding to take this job. And one of the things that came through that weekend was, we used to do a lot of talking about being a leader with light in Roselight. That would come up all the time, how to lead with light. And I realized by the end of that weekend that this would be a great field of opportunity for me, a field of practice to lead with light. And part of leading with light was the idea that the leader is not there simply to tell people what to do, but to serve them. And there was something that was so attractive about that to me. So somehow between these two issues and then a third one, one was just having the field of practice for my development and whatever obstacles were in my way to doing this. And then the idea of how to lead by serving. And I just want to say that when my husband took the job as a director years before that, he told me that one of the other chairmen in the hospital, when he was interviewing my husband, said to him that you think that when you become a chairperson or a director, that you're sitting on top of a big pyramid and everyone who's under you forms the base of the pyramid. But in actuality, you're holding an inverted pyramid up and everyone is above you. And I remember thinking of that, that it's such a big and difficult responsibility for that reason, not because you have to figure out how to tell people what to do. But then the last thing was also one of the tenets of the meditation practice that I had been in since 1974, which was of a Hindu origin then, but it was about seva, which is service to God, and that your work you should come from a place where you're dedicating your work and the fruits of your work to God. So somehow all of this came together for me at the end of that weekend, a long time ago, I guess 14 years ago, and I decided to do it and try this out. And what was particularly difficult is that I had been a staff physician, so I was going to a position of leadership of the people who had been my peers before. So I was really, really a wreck, before I made this decision. And somehow, once I made it, I started working at it. And it's been a long time. It's been 14 years. And I know that that I made a decision that I was going to, I've always had a long drive to this job. I mean, sometimes an hour and a half to 2 hours, that I would do my energy practices, not just at home by meditating, but in the car, go over my practices and what my tenets were and how I wanted to handle it, and that would give me really a long period of practice every morning before I stepped into work, and I needed it because I used to have a knot in my stomach for the first couple of years that I worked there, and then I'd arrive and be a little better, but I've been thinking about this process over the last 14 years. I think that what I have really been able to do, and what I realize that I'm very proud of, is that despite periods of personal insecurity or periods of alarm when I realized that as a director I was like a parent and that myself and my co-director were going to get backlash from our staff, just like my kids would give me growing up, that if something was wrong, it would be our fault or they would complain to us. And so there's so many lessons, I can't even name them all, but, not taking things personally, knowing when to take them personally. But the main thing is to never veer off leading with light no matter what. Realizing that, sometimes there's a moment or two where you can't do it, or a year or a month or something, in all these years, but that basically I feel that I have managed to deal with periods of insecurity, periods of your moments of feeling competitive with someone who was on the staff kind of trying to rise up to where I was or take my job, or some of which might have been real and some of which might have been fantasy. I think that I just had to assume that everything I thought might be going on had to do with me on some level, and that was my area of practice. And I really I would say that I've managed 90% over these years not to act out on any of my internal fears or insecurities or anything that comes up in the course of A, all these years, and B, doing a job like this. And and so the knot in my stomach has gone away over the years, and I've had to fire someone, which was such a nightmare and something I thought I'd never do. And I feel like I can be a great support. And it's funny because at certain times I feel like I'll be serving them just by offering to do something for them, hold the door, or get things that they would expect of their peers, but not of the directors. And they're always, so grateful and incredulous. And it really isn't done to court their favor. It just is part of serving, of being leading not from a vertical place, but from a more horizontal place, although I have to make decisions and executive decisions and things like that. So I don't want to take too much more time, but I feel that that when I think about just as moving forward, that, I'm not going to be at this job forever. I'm 65 years old, and I hope to stay there, to be able to stay as long as I want to. But the college is phlegmatic, and, there are money problems a lot, and I can't assume that will be the case, but that's what I'm hoping for. And but regardless, I have just recently started realizing I used to have a lot of fear about this job ending. A lot. What would I do? I have my healing practice, but I need the structure and the salary and this and that. And I just finally began to realize that, I have these skills and an open heart, and, I will find a way. That I will find a way to use them, maybe in different ways, or I'll just be all right. So I'm finished. Thank you.
And thank you very much. Would anyone else like to share anything more?
I'd like to share. This is Julie. The story that's sort of coming to me and
It's a dream, actually. I had a dream at the beginning of this year, probably January or February, and I don't usually remember my dreams, or, I have weird dreams, but this one was like, it was so memorable, and I feel like it's sort of, it feels like it represents my life right now. So this dream was that I was hiking with at least two friends, and I don't know who they were. It was just two other people. And in my real life, when I hike with my family or with friends, I'm the one that goes off ahead. I'm always like at least 10 steps ahead of people. Even when I walk on city streets, I'm usually ahead of people. And in this dream, I was ahead, and I was ahead quite a bit from these two people. And I came out of these woods, and there was this embankment going down. And as I went down, I started picking up speed because it was steeper than I thought it was. And sort of by the end, I was sort of running because it was so steep. And it ended at this ledge. And when I realized that I was running down towards this ledge, when I got to it, instead of like the thing in my mind thinking, well, I could try to throw my body backwards. But instead, I hit the edge like a long jumper, and I sort of threw my body out over this cliff, and it was like it looked like the Grand Canyon. It was this huge, huge canyon. And when I got out into the air, I sort of torqued my body backwards, and I saw the two people that were hiking with me come out of the woods, and they sort of saw me, and they both looked really alarmed. And I had this sense of excitement and wonder, and almost like I can't wait to see what happens next, and no fear whatsoever. And at the time when I had the dream, I thought it was really significant, and I still think it's significant, and it feels like the thing that I've been doing for the last 2 years is sort of shedding so many things that I've thought of as myself, and I feel like I've almost shed an identity. I don't really, there's not much I'm hanging on to anymore. And I have a sense that this is all leading somewhere, but I have no idea where it's leading. So it's this, and part of my personal practice has been letting go of fear. And the really cool thing is I don't have a lot of fear day to day. And I think several years ago I had a lot of fear. I don't know if I was aware of how much fear I had, but now I'm aware of how much I don't have. And there are moments, every couple of weeks I'll hit a snag of fear, but it's very short-lived. And I've actually I've done some meetups where I've sort of brought this love versus fear kind of theme to the discussions and stuff. But and I related to what you said, Laura, about cycles, because I feel like I'm at the beginning of some cycle that's taking me somewhere kind of cool, and I don't know what it is. And I've been playing around I've been teaching all different kinds of people, and the sort of the most fulfilling thing I did in the last month was did a one-day women's retreat around mindfulness and emotional intelligence and leadership. And the name that I called it was Cultivating Connection, because I think with what I've seen of leaders, there's a lot of disconnection out there. And I feel like the last 2 years I've been developing a deeper and deeper connection to myself, and now I can teach it to people, especially women, because it seems that women spread themselves so thin and take care of so many people. And like when I say, when I describe my mindfulness practice, I say it's like coming home to my heart. And like these women, their eyes lit up, because I think they like can't even relate to that, because I think they're, from the things they were saying, it's not their experience, but it sounds really, really good to them. So I think the thing I'm really grateful for in myself is having the courage to let go of so much and sort of drop into the unknown, and also to create stillness and quiet for me to really go deeper and deeper within myself. And what it feels like is I have more to offer to other people by doing that. So that's me. I'm complete.
Thank you. Let's just sit for a moment in gratitude for all that has been shared and for all that we offer individually and collectively. Great, and let's just bring that portion to a close. When I was looking for something to offer here at the end, I was looking through some collections of sayings that John O'Donohue had collected, and one of them is from A Million Little Ways, Uncover the Art You Were Meant to Live, and that's by Emily Freeman. And that is, at the most basic level of our identity, your job and my job is to be a poem, the image bearers of God, made to reflect His glory. The art you and I were born to make is released out of the care of who we truly are, where our spirit is joined in union with the Spirit of God. Any movement coming from that place reflects the glory of God. This is our highest purpose and ultimately our greatest joy. So thank you for sharing, and I would invite us to do a checkout of what's in your heart and mind as you leave this evening.
This is Laura, and what's in my heart is a gratitude and an appreciation and a warmth in my heart from hearing and sharing everybody's story tonight. Thank you.
For me, it's heart connection with all of you.
This is Julie. I'm grateful for the connection and for hearing everyone's story and about your lives at this point. And it's like expanded heart, this really expanded heart energy is what I'm feeling.
This is Nancy, and the words that come to me are happy gratitude. I'm feeling some real happiness linked with gratitude for each person, for the intimacy of this gathering tonight, and just the joy welling up inside. Thank you, everyone.
Hi, this is Nancy. I feel so inspired by hearing everyone's stories, and I'm so grateful for the inspiration, and I'm so grateful for just being in this wonderful group with all of you. It's just so loving and wonderful.
Thank you again, everyone. I'm grateful for this opportunity to host and for the opportunity to share with you in this way, and just great gratitude. So in closing, I'll say thank you for joining us for this Spirit Gathering teleconference. The call may be archived as an MP3 at www.tzaddi.org, 3 W's that is. Phone access to the recording of this call is available until next month's call. For the playback, dial 712-432-1085, access code 990-322#. We hope you'll join us for our next Spirit Gathering on Tuesday, December 19th. Sue Roweeder is usually the host of this December call, but has not yet confirmed that she'd be available to host. So if anyone is available to host, thank you for contacting Laura Smith directly by December 1st, if possible, at lsusmith@msn.com. So as in Laura, Sam, University, Smith @msn.com. These calls are hosted by Tzaddi, an interspiritual metaphysical organization founded in California in 1964. Tzaddi welcomes, nurtures, and supports people in celebrating and more directly experiencing their relationship with the loving presence of the divine. Our programs are open to people of any race, color, or national or ethnic origin. Visit tzaddi.org to learn more. We will now close with thanks and a blessing, which we'll just do silently for a moment. Thanks to Tzaddi founders Amy Keyes and Dorothy Blackmere. And thanks to all of you who have been part of our community tonight. And thanks to the divine who supports us always, even when we are not aware of it.